So thank you everybody for coming today to our Google Hangout. What we're kind of doing here, and I'm just going to go ahead and jump into this, is we're doing a live Google Hangout on a Google Hangout. So as you can see, Google Hangouts, it's new. It's something that's brand new as far as the technology goes. So there are some things that happen and some challenges, and we'll talk about some of those. So I am Don Sears, and I'm with Envisage International, and we're an online marketing company. So we do a lot with Facebook, we do a lot with Twitter, and within the last 12 or so months, we've added in Google Plus, and some of the reasons that we're using Google Plus is because of the technology and some of the really cool things that you can do with it and the ways that you can integrate it in. So right now we're doing a live hangout. So we have a camera here. So we have an audience that's on the other side of that camera as well as in the audience. And so what's different about this is we're not used to having a live audience when we're doing a Google Hangout. We're talking directly to the camera. So the cool thing about it is we've got a microphone system. So I've got a mic and she has a mic. This camera is also outfitted with a mic, but it's just a little too sensitive to be able to do, with a group like this. If anybody coughs or anything like that, it picks it up. So we went with these types of mics to make it just a little clearer. And so we have that mic system. It's a remote system in the camera. And so there's people that we've invited to join this. There's folks in our office that are looking at this to send us a text, hey, the volume's not loud enough, or the video's not working, or those types of things. So it's kind of a unique thing that we're doing. And really kind of the cool thing about it, and just one of the reasons that as Envisage as a company, what we're trying to do with Google, or just in general as an online marketing company, is create good, compelling content. And when you can do video content and when you can do just good quality content, people watch it, right? They look at it, they engage with it, and then they'll share it with other people. So that's hopefully what we're doing in this room, is providing a resource that we can now put on our website. Once this is done, this will live on YouTube. It'll live on our Envisage International website. And then when NAFSA Region 7 sends me the email saying, hey, can you send your presentation over, I'll send them a YouTube link. So it's kind of neat. So we're kind of trying to push the limit a little bit what we're doing here, but also educate everybody on how we're using Google Plus, how we're using the Hangouts. Hopefully get some discussion on ways that you can use it, whether it's talking, as we did with Mississippi State, talking with hundreds of students at one time and getting them into the recruiting funnel, or whether it's students that are a little bit further down in that recruiting funnel and maybe they're coming to your campus in 30 days and you want to have a hangout with all the students that are coming to your campus in 30 days. So that's a little bit about what we want to talk to you about today. A little bit about me and my background is I am the Director of Sales for our online marketing side of the business, specifically for schools and really for businesses that want to connect with our millions of international kids that are using our sites. I've been doing this for 4 years now. We're based in Neptune Beach, and before that I've worked for companies like Reach Local, which is really an online marketing company for small to mid-sized businesses. Before that, I was working with a company called Weatherbug, which is one of the leading, it's a funny name, but one of the leading providers of weather information on the internet and on mobile devices. So that's a little bit about me and kind of why we're going to be talking to you today. And did you do an intro? Do you want to tell these people?
I think I already told all you guys, but for the benefit of the people that are actually live now listening to us. So my name is Karen Lee, and I'm with Mississippi State University. And I'm there the Director of International Relations, and I do some recruiting, mostly for sponsored students, but really for anyone. And I've done a Google Hangout, so that's important.
Yep. So what are we going to talk about today? We talked about kind of this Hangout. We'll talk just a general explanation of what a Google Hangout is. We'll talk a little bit about the Hangout that we did together, kind of what we did on our end, what Karen did on her end. And then some of the results of that and some of the kind of long-tailed results too. And then we'll really kind of get into some of your questions and a discussion on some of the best ways and best practices and things like that. Does that make sense? And I'd really like to keep this informal. So if you guys have questions, please raise your hand and let me know. And to our remote audience, if you guys have questions, in the upper right-hand side of the Google Hangout, you'll just see a Q&A button. If you hit that, then it'll open up another window and you can ask questions, and then we'll get to those as well. And then as my driver, we've also recruited Anne Marie. This is Anne Marie Estrada, and she's pretty well known in this conference area. But she is on the insurance side of our business, and she's our technical guru for, at least for this presentation. We've at least nominated her for that. So. So anybody have questions before we just kind of get rolling through it? So let's just talk a little bit about what Google Plus is to kind of get us going. Google Plus, and to look at Google Plus, you almost have to take kind of a historical perspective on it to really look at it. What Google Plus really started out to be was Google's version of Facebook. They wanted to go head to head with Facebook. They wanted to, hey, we're Google, we can take Zuckerberg out, right? And they tried, and the advantage that Google had is they had millions upon millions of Gmail users, and they had millions of offices that are now converting over to their Google suite of products. And so they have scaled that back a hair to say, you know what, Google Plus is more than that. There is, yes, a social piece to it, like you see up here. This is actually International Student. That's our flagship kind of website brand. And this is our Google Plus page. So you can still do a lot of the same things with their social piece. But the cool part about what they've done is they've integrated it in with their other products. So as an example, we scheduled this Google Hangout on our corporate Google Plus page. So on our Envisage International, we scheduled it. Just a little while ago, my phone went off because it's automatically on my Google Calendar. And so I get reminders. It is automatically, we don't have to do anything once we turn the off button on this Hangout. It's just going to be pushed up to YouTube because that's now a Google-owned entity. So they've really done a good job with their calendaring, with maps, with their search. So it's all nice and integrated in. So this is really their social element of it. This isn't going to go away, but it's not going to be the new Facebook. People are going to post pictures of puppies and their neighbors' kids on this, but it's more along the business lines. I have never posted a picture of a puppy on here. I have on Facebook, I'll admit it. So that's kind of the difference, but you can do a lot of the similar things. So this is International Students. So you can see on the right-hand side, we're actually did a little Mississippi State promotion on there. We talk about recent graduates, secrets of how to survive college. So we, as a company, use Google Plus to push content out, to promote content, but now with the integration and with the Hangouts, we can create and distribute content. So as an example, we're still doing the same things on Facebook and Twitter. We did a marketing push to get people to join this Hangout through Facebook. We did one through Twitter, but we also did it through Google Plus because your audience has gotten bigger and wider, right? Does that make sense? So there's lots of different tools, lots of different things that you can do. So as an example, one of the other things that you're able to do with Google Plus is create what they call circles. So just as you can control who sees anything that you push out on Facebook, Google has just knocked this one out of the park. They've done a really good job. As you can see, we've created certain circles. So there's an Envisage International circle. That's on International Students. So that's our company. That's the people that are in our home office. So as we're doing tests, we can just say, hey, sign up for this Google Hangout, but we only want Envisage International people to see it. Or we've done a Hangout, as I said, with Mississippi State. So I think it's down there at the bottom, the MSU Hangout. That has 299 folks in it. That's the folks that attended that Google Hangout. So now we have a Hangout. So we know they attended it. They expressed interest in that session. So now we can say, hey, you attended this. Next week, they're doing another Google Hangout on how to fill out the application or whatever that might be. So you're able to really kind of put some cool circles and market different ways to the different folks. Can you go back just to the International Student Google Plus page? One more. So just like Facebook, you can share what's new. You can like it or +1 it, right? So it's a unique way to be able to just push that content out to folks. Do you have anything to add?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, you can put this targeted to specific student groups. Say you have a large contingent of, I know a lot of you guys probably have Brazilians too, Brazilian students coming in. Instead of each and every one of them, you know, asking you the same question, you could put this on Google Plus. You can tell them who they need to talk to when they first arrive at your university, all those things, and it would only go to those students. So it's just another tool to use. And you don't have to find them on Facebook to do that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep. So the way I look at it is you're going to reach a segment of your audience on Twitter. You're going to reach a segment of that audience on Facebook. You're going to reach a segment, and there's going to be some overlap between those. Those circles are going to overlap, but it's just another way to be able to use it and to communicate in a different manner. So that kind of leads into the Google Hangouts and what a Google Hangout is. Google Hangouts are really, there's two different types of them. There's a regular Hangout where, say you're over in China and you need to communicate with your audience just like you, or your office, just like you would on Skype. It's a Skype type of Hangout, and it's free and it's easy to use. As an example, if you go to the Google button, that's okay, just pull up the actual Hangout. So go down here, you just go down to the Hangouts, and from there you're able to start a Hangout. So you can do it in a closed environment with just a few of your colleagues, or say it's a one-on-one with a student. We were talking to a gentleman in the hallway. He's like, yeah, I use this just to talk to one student instead of picking up the phone and calling him. Yes?
Is this something that can stay private, or
yep.
is it seen by, is it public?
This is public. So the world is seeing the remote Hangout that we're doing right here.
What we're doing right now is public.
But you can also, as you can see, you could take that little public button off and then invite whoever you want. So you can invite somebody in your circle. You can invite one person. We did a test with somebody in our home office, so I just invited Victoria to one Hangout. The Hangouts on air are generally for the masses. It's pretty much unlimited people. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but we did one with Mississippi State and with Karen, and it was almost 300 students that attended the Hangout and that they were able to get their message to. And then they were able to put them in the circles and all those types of things. So Google Hangouts on air are almost like a GoToMeeting or like a WebEx, to where students will go, you drive them to your Google Plus page where they can actually sign up, and then they'll get kind of in the Google system, and it'll send them reminders when it's going to start. But that's kind of the way that you can talk to the masses and more than just your 10 limit, which is really kind of what we wanted to focus on in this room today is the Hangouts, and talk a little bit about those as well. Have anything to add to that?
No, not really.
Okay, so we talked a lot about, kind of the growing popularity. Does anybody have any questions for us at this time? Yes. Yep. No, not at this time. Google and Vietnam are your two obstacles with Google. Yeah.
China. Yeah.
So that, and there's really, I mean, at this point, there's nothing you can do. But then you have the same challenges with just about anything. We have, as far as like international student, even just your web page and things like those, we've got a little cake plate over their internet. So.
The only thing I can do with students from China, I use an app called WeChat. For some reason, that is not, it gets through. They can talk to me. It's, yes, for Chinese too, including pictures. So WeChat is one that you can definitely use.
Can you pull up internationalstudent.com? So just real quick, and then go to resources and go to Hangouts. So before we talk about Mississippi State, I just wanted to show you some of the things. Go down a little bit more to the Hangouts. Perfect. So we do Hangouts. So International Student is a resource for international students that want to study in the U.S. So like I said, we're always looking for new and engaging ways and new content that will live in the moment, but also be long-term. So we've done Hangouts, such as, here's one, just secrets to getting your F1 visa approved. And so what we'll do is we'll do an email marketing. We'll push this out via Facebook. We'll do it on Twitter, our different Twitter channels, and we'll invite students to sign up for this. And it's just an information session. It's not good for everybody. They might already be in the United States, but if they are interested, we'll get 100, 200, 300, 400 people that'll sign up, and we're able to give an information session. And then the neat thing about it is it lives on our site. So we now have this resource center for students. Here's another one, kind of the dirt on picking your major. What do you need to do to be able to pick your major? And if you scroll down a little bit, we've done several others. And we do this kind of across the board. So Anne Marie and her department on insurance has done them. I mean, it's a good time of year. If you're coming over to the US, you need to know about the US healthcare system. What do you need to know? I'm sure you've seen it in the news and those types of things. So what does it mean for you as an international student? We've done some with some schools as well. So here in college, and we've done it with a lot of our different business units, and we have a lot more scheduled. So what we've done as a company is seeing the value of these. Again, it's not going to reach your whole audience, but it's going to reach a portion of it. So you don't need Google or a Google account to be able to come here and watch this video. We also have put these on our YouTube channel. So we have an international student YouTube channel, so they can actually watch these. And we started to do enough of these that they're starting to be picked up by YouTube as kind of recommended content. So we're starting to, the more content that we're pushing out there, the more YouTube and Google are recognizing the quality of it, and they're starting to pick it up, and we're getting more and more views on the different content that we're pushing out. So again, that's that engaging quality content that's going to be viewed, be useful, and be shared amongst the masses.
And then let me just butt in here a little bit. Anybody who has a website or who uses Facebook, Twitter, those resources are also available to you when you sign up with internationalstudent.com, which is free. I mean, you can just get that on Facebook. You can share it. So I know we're all pressed to get stuff out to our students all the time. Facebook posts, keep it fresh. Well, why not take something that they might actually need? They want to know how to, you know, get a F1 visa, things like that. So I think to me, that's a really easy thing. I do that all the time.
Right. So that's a good lead in, I think, to talk a little bit about the,
Yeah, the question.
oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I looked at your site the other day. When you are registered with internationalstudent.com,
Mhm.
you have the ability to kind of update stats and things about your international student population.
Yes, so I'm going to just repeat the question for the remote audience. What he's asking is, if you do visit internationalstudent.com, can you update the information on your particular school? And the answer to that is yes, and I'll be happy to show you afterwards. But there's a My Account button or a Register button in the top right-hand side. And if you click on that, then you're able to, actually, if you could pop International Student up, just the home page, I can show you. Oh, you can actually see it right up in the top. So sign up or sign in. That's on all the pages. And it'll say create a new account, and you just go through that process. We'll approve you. We recommend using a .edu email address, so we know you're not just trying to claim Harvard's web page, you know, which, trust me, we get a lot. And then you can update any information that's on there, you know, the intro, the stats, all those types of things. Yep. All right, so let's talk about what we did together. So kind of in prep for this conference, we said it would be really cool to do a Google Hangout presentation. We've been using them. We've got a studio that we've actually dedicated. I got kicked out of my office, and usually when that happens, it's not a good sign. But they moved me to a different one, fortunately, and we turned it into a studio. So we have cameras and we have lighting and we have things like that. So we said we would love to, since we're doing these and we've got the content, it would be great to kind of come in here and talk to the NAFSA Regional conferences about what we're doing and what we can do with schools and those types of things. So we recruited Karen and said, you know what, we would love to do a Google Hangout with Mississippi State. We're already partners. We work together. Let's do a Hangout, and let's use our marketing arm, and let's use your kind of skills and talent in talking to students, and let's do it. And let's promote Mississippi State in a Hangout, and let's see how it goes. So we did that. We, what was it, back about September 23rd.
September 23rd.
23rd. So
Not that long ago.
not that long ago. So the first step of the Hangout was we had to kind of pick what are the numbers? How many people do we want to attend? How many inquiries that actually come through do we want to send over? What is the messaging to the audience? So those are sort of the first things that you need to kind of start thinking through to get it going. So we talked to Karen and kind of nailed down some of those things. And then we built the page or scheduled the Hangout, and we put it out there to the masses so anybody could see it that we wanted to. So we put it on International Student. We did some marketing on there. We did some email marketing to invite students to join. So we started our marketing campaign about 3 days before the event. So we started with an email. We started on Facebook. We did some stuff on Twitter just to let everybody know about the actual event that was coming up. And drove them to that page to where they could learn more. We also, Mississippi State has a profile on internationalstudent.com. So for those that were maybe not wanting to join the Hangout till they had a little bit more information, they were able to go to International Student and learn a little bit more about Mississippi State. And so this is the actual profile. And so they were able to learn about a lot. We have a lot of different information on here. And then if they're interested in being contacted, all they had to do was fill out that form. So we marketed them to 2 different places. We had 2 different links: learn more about Mississippi State or sign up for the Google Hangout on there. So that was leading up to the event. We sent a computer and microphone and earpieces to Karen, and we did some testing and made sure it worked, so we didn't have things that happened like we started here today. And we did a lot of testing to make sure everything worked.
Yep. They also send a one-pager kind of letting you know about lighting, that kind of stuff. So some tips, which was very useful.
And we learned this also. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Karen and I are stuck over here in the corner. We don't want to be in front of the screen where it's attracting light, so just little things that we've learned kind of along the way. So we are now at the day of the event. We're about an hour or 2 before. We send another email to the folks that we wanted to join the Hangout, just as a reminder. We did some more social media marketing, obviously on our Google Plus page. And Google went to work. And those people that said they were going to attend, they're starting their calendars buzzing and saying, hey, in 15 minutes, the Google Hangout that you said you were going to attend is starting. So a lot of different components to it and a lot of cool integration going into it. So I'm going to let Karen kind of talk to you about what she did on her end to prep for the event. So that was what we did to market the event and to get students to attend. And then Karen had the job of doing the presentation.
So I got to thinking about this. So who is my audience? I mean, I didn't know who signed up. Chances were there might be undergraduate students, probably never heard of Mississippi, thought we were a river. It's one of the things we always have to deal with. But the other thing too, I didn't want to be the one talking. Because, I mean, if I'm a student, I'm more apt to listen to another student. So the first thing I did was recruit a peppy, young Indian female student who I knew would just be perfect. And yes, she joined me, and we just kind of have a pretty good relationship anyway. So we made it, the whole entire Google Hangout, more like a conversation. I was asking her questions. So what did you do when you got here? Things like that. So it wasn't so much me standing there lecturing them about how wonderful Mississippi State is. It was a student talking, and I think it made all the difference.
And from my perspective, I think that they should both get a morning drive talk show. It was hilarious. They had some great interaction. But what I saw in the Google Hangout and what they kind of prepared for, from just the outside looking in and not being an international student and interested in studying Mississippi State, is they focused it. It was laser focused on international. So we marketed to all international. The messaging was to international. So they started with exactly what Karen just said. What is Mississippi? Well, yes, it's a river, right? Yes, it is. And it's also a state. But what is, what are the advantages of studying? So sold the geography of it. So talked about Elvis Presley being from Mississippi, talked about.
But let me butt in. I thought about that too when I was, again,
Right.
my demographics. These are young students, 18, 17, 18 years old. They might not even know Elvis Presley. They might not know John
That's
Grisham.
true.
So I had to dig deep to find something. And guess what? Did you know that Darth Vader is from Mississippi? That's right. And that's exactly what I did. I am your father. That's what I did. And I mean, those are things they could relate to. And it really worked. It worked with that audience because they could see, hey, this is something that I know. I know about Star Wars. Elvis Presley, and not so much. It shows our age, I guess.
Right. And even, John Grisham was from there. And so they explained who John Grisham, and the banter back and forth was really cool. But the other thing that they did, because what we tried to do was put on, a 45-minute hangout where it was a blend of that and then a question and answer session at the end where the students, because of the power of Google, could actually submit questions. So the other thing that I thought was really cool is they sent over to us some pictures of the different things that they do for different international celebrations on the campus. So there was one for the
Indian Student Association put on a Holi festival, which we all kind of participated in, and we were covered head to toe in colors. It was really fun. The Nepalis put on a really nice Nepali night. I think the Iranian New Year was covered. So it's a bunch of different student groups. The aim of it was we wanted to show that we engage with our international students and we celebrate their cultures. And we're happy to have them on campus.
Right. And that was really cool because it's not just, it's actually showing your audience exactly, that they're gonna come to a warm and inviting place. And Karen can talk about it, like she said, all she wants, but the international student being able to show the enthusiasm and say, hey, that was me right there in the picture that was all painted up and those types of things really brought a lot to it. So then after that, once they got through kind of everything, then all the reasons that they should study in Mississippi State in a very engaging way, they were able to take questions. And so from our headquarters in Neptune Beach, Florida, which is right in outside of Jacksonville, we had taken the questions and would tee them up for them. So we were driving the actual Hangout. So Karen wasn't having to flip through the slides and everything else. So we were driving it.
Very helpful.
And sending it over. And that's why she had the little earbud so we could communicate with her. And then we would put a question up through the Google Hangout. And these are questions that students had submitted. And so they were able to go through, and then we would, once they started answering a question, we would kind of tee the next one up. And so they were able to go through and answer, students that are actually watching this live, answer all their questions. So it's a really unique way to engage with students in a live environment. Anybody have any questions on any of that so far? Do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't think so.
So from there, now the Google magic takes over, right? We're able, can you pull up YouTube? So we don't have to do anything. We just, it's pushed out magically to international students' YouTube page. And so this is, and so all of our Google Hangouts are. And if you scroll down to the Mississippi State one, this is content that lives on forever. So what have we tried to do? We've tried to create good, quality, engaging content that people are going to share and people are going to push out there. So since we did the live Hangout, there's been an additional 249 folks that have watched this video. So now we've created a 49-minute video that has questions on answers, has all this engaging content about Mississippi State that lives here. It also lives on that profile that we showed you for Mississippi State on International Student. It lives in our Hangout section. And then they also have the ability to embed it anywhere they would like or share it with anybody they would like. So it's really kind of one of those things that kind of lives on forever. And that excuse me, that 249 views, that was just back a little over a month ago. So that'll continue to get traffic and people will continue to see it. So again, good quality, engaging content.
So for example, if I wanted to talk about that we did a Google Hangout on the Google Hangout, I can push this video out again, and I'm sure there'll be more clicks after that. So it keeps on.
Right. Or we can push it out on our Google channels or Facebook, and which we did also, is, hey, if you missed the Mississippi State Google Hangout, here's the actual video of it. So kind of a unique thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have any questions from it? So just some of the results from it, from our end and from their end. So we had 299 students. Those were the students at RSVP that we were able to put into a circle. We generated what we could attribute directly to the Hangout, 70 inquiries, and those are the students that went through that form, and then we sent that information right over to Mississippi State. There were over 1,600 views just to that profile on international students. So these are people that are interested. They've gotten the marketing message, they've seen the Hangout, now they're looking for more information from that. And when I actually made these notes, there were 170 views of YouTube. So now there's 249, and that was just a couple of weeks ago. And the countries were interesting. The countries that attended the Hangout, the first country was US. Well, that makes sense because, but these aren't domestic kids. These are international students that are in the US. That makes sense because Mississippi State has a heavy population of graduate students. So these were students that are in the US. Go ahead.
And then there's the community colleges. I mean, let's not forget that a lot of them transfer to our four-year institutions from the community colleges. And a lot of international students have figured out that community colleges are a little bit cheaper now. So they're going there first. So that's a market we all need to tap into.
Right. India was number 2. That makes sense for the strength of the engineering programs at Mississippi State. Egypt, number 3. Who would have thunk it? Bangladesh, Malaysia, Turkey, Spain, Colombia, Kyrgyzstan, and you'll like this one, Germany.
Of course. I'm originally from Germany.
So, you know, it's you didn't see China on the list because China can't view the Hangout, but a good, you know, quality list of countries that actually attended the Hangout and wanted more information about it. Anybody have questions for us at this point? So let's just, you know, kind of wrap it up with some of the lessons that we've learned and just some of the things. So we've been doing this for a year. Clearly, as you can see from the beginning, we haven't gotten all the hiccups out of it, but we've done a lot. So a lot of the things that you want to think about is lighting. Make sure you're well lit. If we were standing in front of the screen, I would look like a shadow to this audience here.
Right.
So that's big. Microphones. We've learned this has got a great microphone that works great without a live audience. And that's what we would use in our office. But when you have the live audience, it doesn't work as well. So we switched that out. The other thing is just like I have Anne-Marie here, it's tough to do these all by yourself. It's better to have a team. So you see us here, just as we have a live audience and a remote audience, we also have a remote team that was kind of backing us up. They actually are logged into this, and they would help tell us, hopefully, if anything was, you know, if the mic wasn't working, or if I was coming off camera or whatever that might be. So it does take a team approach to it. So I think the staffing is important. The camera angle, if you don't have a camera, this is an HD quality camera. It's not an expensive camera, but it's just HD quality. If you're using the one that's poked out of the laptop, so you want to make sure the angle. I don't think anybody wants to look up anybody's noses for a whole hour for one of these. Internet, you've got to have a good, stable internet connection. So if it's peak hours at the university for internet use and bandwidth, you might want to think about that. Time zones.
Oh, yeah.
We did this one at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Nobody in Australia, China, well, they couldn't anyway, but You know, you've just got to kind of figure out who's going to be able to do it. There's no perfect time, but you've got to figure out who you want, how many students you want, and you can probably tell that from that list of countries as well.
Another thing you really need to kind of remember that I learned the hard way is when you set up your camera, don't get too close to it. I scared myself first time I saw the video because it was just too close to my face, and my face was like really big, scary. So move it back some. Another thing I figured out, they told me about lighting, and I had windows behind me. So I was like, what am I gonna do? Because, you know, even with the blinds, light comes through and that would really distract. So I kind of borrowed one of those pull-up banners from our admissions office and put it behind me. So I had a backdrop of Mississippi State, and that was pretty good. And it also served the purpose of blocking out all that light. That was also important.
And it had brand behind her. So.
And of course, I wore a scarf or earrings. Yeah, no, important stuff. But are you going to show the video?
We can try to show the video. We had some trouble getting the sound on it. Do you want to see
Okay.
if we can pull it up?
It was an interesting experience. But I really do encourage you, if you're thinking about doing a Google Hangout, to do it with another person. First of all, you get a little bit more loose, and if you have a student in there, it just makes all the difference in the world, because the engaging part of it is it's just much better. So he's going to try and get the sound up, which is good. We're hoping to get that up. There we go. We are now there for posterity.
No, we're not going to be able to get the sound, so we'll show this to you guys later if you want to.
Yeah. But you can look it up on YouTube yourself. Unfortunately, that didn't work. But I just want to kind of drive home again what's important. Know your audience. Just because we know that you are from Georgia Tech or anywhere, I mean, they don't really know what that means. You're going to have to explain a little bit of where you are, what your school is famous for, kind of. If you're good at engineering, market that. That's a good thing. Also kind of talk about like the climate. I mean, those are things that we tend to forget sometimes, but you know, here in the Southeast, we really do have a big advantage. They don't want to go where it's cold. So for us, that's a marketing point. We need to market that more. You don't have to worry about digging yourself out of the house to go to school. You can just go just like the same. That's what when I went on a recruiting trip to India, that's what I told them about the climate. Same as in your country, hot and sticky. So market that. That's important.
Anybody have
Anything
any
else?
questions?
Oh,
Good. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Too bad the sound didn't work. Technology.